The definition of cutting out the middleman, according to the Macmillan Dictionary, is to deal directly with someone instead of talking to their representatives. Globalization, paired with the internet being in almost every house in the world, has allowed companies to market and sell their goods directly to the consumer, saving on retailers taking their cut and thus passing on some of the savings to the customer. This phrase has been adopted by a new wave of Instagram fast fashion brands, with terms such as affordable luxury and disrupting the industry being used without thought. Filippo Loreti even goes far to say in a Kickstarter ad that they bring a line of luxury watches to you for a fraction of the retail price. It's not just the bold claims of luxury that make these watches so successful, it's also the image and lifestyle that they portray through their advertising. Through their ads, the watches are shown to be part of a lifestyle where the owner is usually in a hot climate, living an amazing lifestyle, and just won't be slowed down by anything. The implication being that these watches keep up with them in every aspect, and to be fair, the advertisements are brilliant. The design of these Instagram watches tend to be minimalist in style. As a lover of Bauhaus myself, this is not a negative. Bauhaus is based around the efficiency of design. However, a lot of these Instagram watches have designs that are frankly bizarre and don't make sense. Chronographs without second markings being the first one that comes to mind. Now, I'm not going to criticise the fact that these watches are made in China. Quality goods can be made anywhere in the world, the Chinese watchmaker Seagull being a fine example of this. I do, however, take issue with brands making up their own horological stories. Daniel Wellington said that their founder met an Englishman named Daniel Wellington, who wore a Rolex Explorer on a NATO strap. The founder started a company to honour this stranger by creating a three-hand minimalist watch, which wouldn't be able to survive any adventure. I find that bizarre. Filippo Loreti is even worse. They market themselves as Italian, while they're Asian-made, and the founders are Lithuanian. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. However, it gives you no authenticity, and particularly when you're making the claims that you are about luxury and heritage. And the word Swiss is thrown around there quite a lot because they've got one Swiss designer. Type movement into YouTube. I'm not the first, nor will I be the last to talk about this company. For me, the hypocrisy of movement and other Instagram brands that I've touched on was clear from the offset. I would argue that the contents of the ads are borderline mis-selling. These are not luxury watches. The materials are not luxury. The brand is certainly not luxury. And in terms of this whole angle of cutting out the middleman, what they don't tell you is that they just keep more of the profits and that they charge more for an extremely simple watch, which is extremely easy to produce and extremely cost efficient for them. And in reality, there is a middleman, because these companies do not make the watches. I can say with certainty that one of them doesn't, because they buy them from a Chinese wholesaler, which we'll touch on in a minute. So this whole spiel about cutting out the middleman, yeah, once again, that's just not true and it's not authentic. So here we have the official movement website and another retailer on the left, and as you can see, it's the exact same watches at the exact same price. So in terms of movements, cutting out the middleman, which is why they can offer you these supposedly excellent watches at excellent prices, that seems to have fallen by the wayside, because you're selling to a retailer who is selling for the exact same price as yourself, and they're taking a cut. So I think Movement's entire sort of campaign from their Kickstarter has kind of fallen on its face here. So previously I alluded to one of these companies buying their watches wholesale from China, and I was alluding to Movement. There is pretty damning evidence that these watches are cheaply made in China on AliExpress, and all Movement have done is buy them and rebrand them. They've never denied this. They've been asked directly about this and they've never said either way. So this is pretty damning evidence right here. So again, the hypocrisy of the Movement watch brand is clear to see. They're talking about giving the customer a great value deal, putting them at the forefront, looking out for them, being different from all these other sort of capitalist monsters that they try and paint. However, they're buying a watch which they can buy for under $10, and that's being generous, and they're selling it for over $100. So they are the exact monster that they paint out of other brands. And buying wholesale and spending on branding is not a sin. It's not at all. Loads of brands do it. However, the hypocrisy for this brand to say what they've said and then act in this way, I think is unbelievable, and they seem to have gotten away with it pretty much scot-free, to be fair. So as a business move, I absolutely don't blame them at all. I think it's genius, and they did it before anyone else, them and Daniel Wellington. However, when they try and paint themselves as something that they're not, that's when I take issue with it. The sort of realization of the business model of these Instagram watches has led to a lot of people doing the same in a far less elegant and well constructed manner. So, to be fair to Movement Daniel Wellington, the branding is absolutely fantastic. I've said the advertisements are brilliant. They've conquered the social media world in a way that traditional watch brands haven't come close to, but also haven't directly tried and targeted the youth. They seem to have sort of forgotten about them and just focused on the enthusiasts who you don't need to advertise to. So in terms of that, I think it's fantastic what they've done in terms of getting young people involved, but it's opened the doors to a lot of unscrupulous people who are buying watches wholesale and then just drop shipping, reselling. Don't think that's a particularly big problem. However, the prices that I've seen, it is an issue when you're charging over 10 times. In my opinion, when you've done no effort to rebrand, I think that's lazy, and brands like this have opened the door for that. I've seen plenty of things where it's essentially it's a scam. Really, it's a just pay postage for this watch. Postage is 12 quid. The watch is 99p on AliExpress with free delivery. So these guys are pocketing a lot of money as a result. So again, it is a business move, and from a business move, you've got to respect it because it's smart. However, it leaves the consumer second behind the money, and it doesn't give new people into the watch world a good introduction whatsoever. In conclusion, I think the main takeaway message is that as a community, we have all the tools we need to stop the spread of this misinformation and to promote good watch brands that offer value for money. Now, for a lot of people, it won't be the end of the world because they'll buy a movement watch, they'll wear it a few times a year and they'll be perfectly happy. But there are plenty of people getting into this hobby who are going to be misled, and they're going to be very disappointed when one of their watches they spent a lot of money on just does not live up to their expectations. And I think it's an injustice to all these watch brands, both old and new, so your Seikos of the world, but then also your newer watch brands who offer fantastic value for money. A lot of these new micro brands that they're being sort of taken over by these Instagram watches where they're fantastic business moves, and the people who started them, they're great businessmen and women. However, they've got no place in the horological world, if you ask me. Not necessarily because of the quality of their product, even though I don't think that's good enough for the price, but in terms of the way that they mislead and they misinform their customers and their potential customers with a level of hypocrisy which is honestly quite scary, that they can sit in front of a camera and say that and not feel guilt at all. Particularly Filippo Loreti, which I actually think is embarrassing, some of the things that they've said. Right then guys, I'm going to leave it there. I think I could go on for a lot longer about these brands, but I think that will do it for now. I might potentially make another video if anything else comes to light or get any feedback on this one. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. Slightly different format to what I've done previously, so yeah, let me know how that was. Catch you next time.